Welcome to Ring of Fire.
I'm Alex Barr, doula and educator.
And I'm Emmy the Birth Wizard.
This is where we talk about the tough moments of birth work
and help you transition into fire starters. Welcome back to Ring of Fire. I'm Emmy the Birth Wizard.
I'm Alex Barr, doula and educator.
And we have a fun topic this week, which is not fun for some people, but fun for us. Because I know I've been asked multiple times, and I know that this question's been broached to you too, of like, so I want to be a birth worker. What does it take? Like, what do I gotta do? Like, is it easy? Is it hard? Like, so
I've
like...
definitely got the, I'm looking for, I've had a past client ask me, I'm looking for a way to make some like side money.
Yeah.
And I was like, you just had a baby.
I wish there was money in this, guys. Like, I'm trying hard to make there be money in this. This is not like a side hustle kind of deal. I mean, some people treat it that way, and I have seen it, but my philosophy is this is not a side hustle kind of deal. Yeah. This is hard work. So,
and truly the idea for this episode came from a conversation I had with someone who was like, I really wish someone had really explained what this looks like, because I've done my education, I've done my training, I've done my certification, and I'm realizing that it's probably never going to be possible for me, at least for years and years.
Yeah.
To do this as a job.
Yeah, for sure.
And that made me really sad, like, to do that and go through this work, which I know is so much effort and so much education and so much of this, to be like, oh, I literally can't afford to do this, or I have small kids at home, or whatever the reason is, like, I can't fully dive into this. That's, like, heartbreaking.
It is. And I think the other thing is, like, especially if you're someone who gets excited about a new topic. Yeah. I cannot wait for us to do a neurodivergent episode, because I swear to God, exciting. every one of us are a little off the beaten path with how our brains function. And I swear that some of the like stuff going on with this work is people get excited about a new topic and it becomes a new passion or a special interest, and they're like, I've gained all this knowledge, how do I share it? And also I can exchange that knowledge for money, right? Like,
what happens when the special interest glow wears off?
Right.
Are you like,
oh, never mind,
do I still want to do this?
I mean, yarn was cool, but
but yarn's a little different,
right?
You can just like shove it in the closet. You probably didn't spend like $2,500 on trainings, and
maybe not. Yeah, so I do think there's some of that in this work. I do think some people learn about birth like through their own birth experience, or maybe even supporting like a family member through it, or like a partner, or whatever it may be, because I've heard that story quite a bit of like, I helped my sister through it, or I helped my friend and like learned all this information, and then I learned about birth work. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of, ooh, maybe I do want to do it. This would be fun. So one of the ways we're going to structure this is we're going to talk about what kind of birth work is out there, and then talk about like the pros and cons to those different subsections, so that way people can kind of get an idea of, so you want to be a birth worker.
So this is truly for the person who's like, I think I maybe want to do this, but I don't know how to get into it.
Yeah, you're just birth worker curious.
Like it?
Yeah.
Birth work curious.
Birth work curious. We've all been there, and then we ended up exploring further. Love it. Sometimes you start in one of these categories and end up in a different place. Not unlike other journeys. Yeah. So one of the I figure we can start with like the entry level ones. The ones where like it's a weekend training, or even like you don't even need training necessarily to do it. Yeah. It can be something that you find pretty easily if you did a Google search. Yeah. And we can break down like ones that have like on-call schedules and the ones that don't. Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So would you like on-call or not on-call first?
Let's do not on-call.
Okay. So some of the birth work out there, if you're like, can't really handle on-call work, and I still want to be a part of this. Number one, I think, is childbirth education. I think that's a really great way to do this work. It's something that you can schedule. There's so many different like education platforms out there to fit your vibe. They are trainings, or you can even come up with your own. Like, really, you can just make your own. Being two people in this room who literally just were like,
our own curriculum.
I'm just going to make my own thing.
Well, my training, it wasn't an option at the time to have their curriculum. Yeah. Their training was to teach you how to make your own.
Oh, that's funny.
Right? So I didn't really have a choice in that, but I did pick them knowing that, right? I picked it knowing that, like, it would be my own thing instead of, you know, a variation of what's already out there.
Right. And then there's other places where they literally give you the books and the training on what to say and how to say it and all of that. And one of my favorite ones that does that, if I were to ever do a more traditional like childbirth education, is Birthing from Within. I would be a Birthing from Within instructor like that, guys.
Love it,
Not surprising if you look at any of my fucking branding. I literally ooze Birthing from Within, and I've been messaged by them before being like, are you one of ours? No, I just really admire you.
I don't know much about that one.
They base it off of the original book by Pam England, which came out in the 70s, almost 80s. And it's all about connecting with that kind of cave woman sense, or cave person sense of like what birth is, and like understanding physiological side of birth, and also like your mental stuff and what can kind of catch you up. It also deals a lot with like art therapy and like getting you to process those emotions through like other actions than just information.
Totally see you being,
and then it's all kind of like guided, and it's a lot of storytelling in order to get you through. One of the trainings they do, which I would love to do, which is another type of birth worker, is birth story teller. And essentially they sit there and they have the person tell their birth story, and they ask certain questions to get the person to process it.
Oh, that's
so that way they can reclaim their stories.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff they do. So if I were to do one, that's one I would look into. But there's thousands.
Oh, there's so many. And then again, that possibilities are endless if you're creating your own curriculum and you're really trying to share like whatever your particular point of view is. Like, it's great.
The other thing is that really gets you to be around birth workers as well, of many different types. You could work with doulas, and you could work with acupuncturists, and you can work with OBs and all sorts of things, and really create a wide net and get a lot of different people through your...
I've also found because I've shifted so much of my focus to being a childbirth educator, there is a lot, especially in this area, a lot less competition. Yeah. Right? So it does feel like there is less of that, whereas like if you're a doula, you're kind of... There's a lot of us, right? So you kind of have to go outside of the birth world to find clients and network and all of this stuff. I've been able to like find allies and people to partner with in the birth community for the childbirth education.
That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Some other ones that don't require as much education and can be more like structured without that on call is a lactation consultant. That's the lowest tier for lactation. Don't worry guys, we'll bring up the other types out there. And that's honestly, it's the least amount you could do. And even working with La Leche League is a way to be a part of birth work in that kind of way. Talking about body feeding and all of the ways to feed a baby. Another one that I have written down is a sleep consultant. That's someone who comes in and teaches you like how to put a baby to sleep.
I didn't even think about that one.
But that one's also kind of tied into this world without it being like exactly it. It's also not on call work. A lot of that work is over the phone training people. A belly binder, which you
do, right?
I do that. I only provide it for my clients. There's a really awesome gal in our community by the name of Princess. She owns Belly Bind. I typically tell people, like, if you want the full experience, go to Princess and her people, because they provide basically like this hybrid of like postpartum doulaing and the belly binding and like getting you to process. It's really a cool program. I show up and I show you how to wrap yourself like a mummy and be like, you got this, friend.
Well, and you're doing some of the other emotional stuff as well.
For sure. One of the, now we get more into like the on-call side, and we could do soft on-call.
So would you say like postpartum doula is soft on call?
Yeah. I would say postpartum doula is a soft on call, because at the first part you're on call, like of like when to start. The same with like a placenta encapsulator. Yeah. That's kind of a soft on call. Like you're there to pick up something, but really beyond that, like you don't have to like think about being up for many hours or whatever.
You can literally run out, grab it,
come
home,
it can still be schedulable
kind of
too, because I know some placenta encapsulators will have the doulas or the partner bring them the placenta, so you can make it a non-on-call system. Yeah,
if you really needed to. And then postpartum, you know, the thing that we were talking about with postpartum doula is it's schedulable. You could do it in daytime, you could do evenings, you could do overnights. Like there is so much like there's ability to work a lot if you like often, right? While also like scheduling it around the rest of your life. You could almost make it like a 9 to 5 if you wanted to.
You really can. And it's something that I recommend for people, especially if they're the organized type. They have like, deep emotional like abilities, like they can like navigate that kind of what Doula Darcy said on a prior episode of ours. If you guys haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to it. But she describes postpartum doulas being the ones who can sit in the shit with you. And I think that is so perfectly said.
Because you're in the trenches of postpartum with people over and over and over again. I think it's fantastic how she says it.
The other thing about postpartum doulas is there's so much variation on how they do their work. You could have a postpartum doula who's doing just errands and like cooking, or you could have the postpartum doula doing all the emotional work, or one doing more the side of like sleep consultations and like
or sibling support, or you know, kind of varies.
And so much variation in there. And again, this is something that can take an over the weekend training or take many months depending on the program you pick. I really feel we need way more postpartum doulas.
That's true, and I see there's so many fewer postpartum doulas than birth. Yeah. And birth kind of steals the shine, I think, a little bit, where...
Well, I hate to use this word, but it's sexy. It's like cool and sexy, and it's a moment, and it's
a moment, and the oxytocin, and the rush, and the... Yeah. But the postpartum is a little more like... It's an emotional work, right?
It's the real thing. It's the real thing. Yeah. After that, we get into true on-call work, which is birth doula. That is the one that is non-schedulable, unless the only people that I could think of that would be schedulable, which I do take clients like this, are the ones who do planned cesareans, but I have yet to meet a doula who does only planned cesareans.
Yeah. And even then, they're planning it, not you.
Right. So,
like, you're not scheduling when they're having a cesarean.
For sure.
Right? So it would be predictable, but still not.
Right. Yeah. So I guess soft on-call if you were only doing planned cesareans. But still, it's on-call work. It's all on-call.
It will take over your whole life. Right?
It definitely can.
Yeah.
There's ways to, like, kind of combat that. But, guys, it takes a lot of work so you can combat that. Yep. So... With that comes on-call work, which we've said it over and over again, but what I mean by on-call work is a little bit different than some other people, because I have a partner, so I trade on-call. Yeah. But typically, most people are on-call 2 weeks before the birth, like due date, and 2 weeks after, but even then, if your person goes into labor at 37 weeks...
Still gotta be there.
Yeah. Still gotta be there.
It's... so interesting because it's literally like 5 weeks. Like if you want to take off a week and you don't have a partner and you don't have a backup, like you literally have to take off 5 weeks of like potential work.
Yes.
To get a week or whatever off, which is so interesting. And the on-call schedule, I'm sure, helps a lot, right? Having someone to share that with, right?
It does.
But you also have to find somebody that you want to share it with.
Right. Because you're sharing work then, guys. Realize that when I'm saying this, it means that I'm sharing my caseload, too. Yeah. Also means I'm bringing in less money myself for my personal business. So, there is that trade-off. Like, I could work by myself and bring in more cash, but then I'm by myself.
And there's no trading on call and stuff like that. Yeah.
No trading
on
on
call. And I think
call.
for new doulas, that's usually the reality, right?
Yeah.
Is whoever you're taking on, you're committing to being there. Hopefully you're getting a backup doula as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah.
You do always need that just in case.
For sure.
Even if you're taking just a few clients, a backup, you
Yes.
never know. You get COVID, you get sick, family emergency, literally anything can happen.
Your tire blows out on the freeway.
You always have a backup.
Yeah.
Always.
I think also, like we've mentioned now, the surprise that can happen that makes it difficult for you to do like birth doula work. But the other part is like it takes a while with any of these to build a business. So if you're someone who needs immediate success, maybe take a pause to think about birth work.
Yeah.
Like,
and we can talk more about that with the barriers, stuff like
for sure.
that, but that's a huge one.
The only other thing I can say about birth work, like birth doula, is how much fun it can be, and I think that's why it does call to so many people. Again, calling out myself when I say this as someone with ADHD. Talk about adrenaline and how much fun that is. Yes. Like, the adrenaline! I get so excited about it.
It is fun, and it is a special place to be, right? Just kind of like postpartum, it's very special to like share that space with someone who just gave birth. It's really special to share a birthing space with people. I'm always in awe when people are like, yes, I want you there. It always like humbles me, like amazing. Or when people say that I help them or they thank me, I like always am like, oh, that's so cool. That like I had an impact, and like it definitely seeing people like just even witnessing people step into like this power and like decision making and advocacy, and it's just like such a cool thing to see.
For sure. And I agree with you, because I have those moments too where I was like, really, me?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a goofy person, but sure, let's do this. Yeah. Like, and I think the other part for me is like, I feel the same way I did when I did theater, when I do birth, where I'm like, we've all been preparing, we all know our lines, we know how to do this, but the day of the show, you don't know if everyone's gonna follow what they're supposed to fucking do,
or if something wild's gonna happen.
Right.
That's a good metaphor for it.
So like, it does bring a lot of that fun for me.
And I would say that childbirth education is really fun too. It's like it's if you like to teach, right? If you like to educate, if you like to have those interactions. But I find that so rewarding as well, right?
Honestly, all of these are rewarding in their own way. It's just what calls you the most. Yeah. Because maybe you find the birth doula doesn't call to you because of that on-call schedule, but the LC does call to you. Yeah. Because your hope is to go into a further pathway, right? Yeah. Which brings us to, all right, none of these are kind of your vibe. You're like, actually, I want to be a bigger player on the field. And you're looking at doing the extra education. Guys, when I say extra education, I don't mean the couple week courses that are out there to become certified, or like a weekend. It's
like you're going to school.
We're going to school.
Real school.
Yeah. A major apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Probably after, and like med school. But
I would rather die than go to med school.
Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. In fact, in the 7th grade, I took those quiz, like vocational, where they're like, this is what you should be when you grow up. And I got doctor. And I was like, this test is wrong. I
got teacher every time.
Oh, cute.
I really thought that's what I was going to do with my life. And
oh, you do.
Look where I am.
So cute. I definitely wanted nothing to do with being a doctor. I have nowhere near the personality for that. Maybe I could have the personality for that, but I don't have the drive to be in school for that long.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Recently, I have been at
power to you.
more births where it's like very young providers coming into the room. And when I say young, I mean like they feel very Gen Z and millennial like. And so they'll have like long hair and gauges in their scrubs. And I'm like, oh, right. It's us now.
We are the doctors now.
Oh shit, we're adults.
Well, and I do think about that sometimes because I've talked about like should I become a midwife? Like, what is my path, right? And I'm always like, who am I to be a midwife? Who am I? I'm just a person. But everybody's just a person.
Right, yeah.
Every doctor is just a person. Every midwife is just someone who's like, I want to do this and committed to going to school and learning and blah, 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 right? So
yeah.
like, it is definitely possible if you feel that like that's the path you want to go.
Yeah, so some of the ones with that extra education, like we said, school. IBCLC is probably the one with the least amount of education in here requirement. But you're still talking 2 to 3 years potentially.
Yeah.
And then an apprenticeship
and all the schooling and
all of it. Midwife is another one. It depends on the level of midwifery that you do, but no matter what, you're going through apprenticeship or you're watching older midwives do shit, or you're going to med school, right? Like there's no way around it. You're going to school.
Going to school. Yeah.
Nurse is a way to work in birth work, and like we have a fantastic episode eventually coming out with a nurse who's also a doula, and talking to her about her journey makes a lot of sense of like how she ended up in birth work and in her particular way. But yeah, you're still talking 4 to 6 years on that one, man. And then OBGYN, obviously we know how they involve with birth.
Yeah.
But that's an option, guys.
So
MFM is another one that's a specialized type of provider, which deals with high-risk pregnancies. And then the other one that I put on here that does deal with birth work, but softly, is pelvic floor therapists. They deal at least with pregnant bodies or postpartum
and
bodies.
a lot of them focus on pregnancy and postpartum, right?
They do.
Even though anybody could have pelvic floor issues,
Yeah.
and we should not only be addressing them before and after pregnancy.
If you have a pelvis, you might need pelvic floor therapy. You want to hear the saddest fact I ever heard and how I sell people on pelvic floor therapy? People as young as 12 are having issues with incontinence because our society has taught us that we need to suck in our gut. So it's weakening their pelvic floor.
I knew that one.
Isn't that sad? So if you're a human who exists in society, go to a pelvic floor therapist and get a hug.
This is a total digression, but they're also finding people holding in their stomachs for so long is creating like scar tissue along their ribs.
Oh my gosh.
And not allowing them to like fully
breathe.